What's up? Today I want to talk about the art and the power of detachment, and how if you can master this one skill of detaching from the outcome, detaching from the experience, detaching from the pain, detaching from all the low vibrational energies and experiences and emotions that you may feel throughout life. The power that you can welcome into your life when you learn how to detach from these things is next level, and it will set you apart from other people in the world, other people in this life at every single stage of your existence, no matter what you're doing. I think we all know that we're creatures of habit and we all have different attachment styles. However, I think it's really easy to get attached to a certain reality, a certain hope, a certain narrative about yourself and your life, because that's in our habitual nature and that brings us peace and comfort, security, because it's similar, it's known, it's comfortable. But when you're attached to something, you're giving that something your power. When you're attached to food, to habits, to trauma, family, a partner, friends, money, material items, familiarity, certainty, knowing why all the time. When you're attached to those things and you allow yourself to associate your identity with these things that are external to you and things that are not in your control, like validation from other people, when you become dependent on that, when you become attached to that, when your emotions and your state of being wavers depending on whether or not you get validation or not from other people, whether you get praise or whether you get bullied by others, you don't have any of your power. Because really, honestly, truly, if you believe that we were all brought into this world, we all came into this world whole and pure and not needing anything more or anything less, you then wouldn't need anything external to you to be living your best life, to be loving yourself as much as you want, as much as you should, as much as you deserve. And knowing that you don't need anything external to you to validate and confirm that you are worthy and you are whole and you are deserving of everything good in this world. And when you're not brought up believing that or being taught that by society, I think it can be a really hard pill to swallow, especially when it's hard to find external validation to then confirm that new narrative that you're trying to teach yourself. But it's not anyone else's job to retrain your mind, to re-coach yourself, reparent yourself, teach yourself this new playbook to live by. Nobody else can do it for you except for you, which in one sense makes it really difficult because there's no one to share the load with. And then on the other hand, it makes it really empowering because there's no one to worry about sharing the load with. There's nobody else you have to depend on or worry about for getting this aspect of your life sorted and figured out. Because when you detach from the things that keep you stagnant and keep you dependent, you empower yourself and you build trust in yourself and you build confidence and self-esteem and the belief that you don't need anything external to you to get to where you want to go. You don't need to sacrifice your values, your wishes, your hopes, your dreams to be fulfilled in some aspect of your life, because you can find that fulfillment from within. You don't have to let worries, concerns, anxieties, fears run your entire life. You can be aware of them. You can be cognizant of them, but you don't have to lose sleep over them. You can let it be easy. And it all starts with detaching from the narrative that it has to be hard, that you have to worry and you have to stress and you have to lose sleep. And, if you're not working hard enough, you don't care enough about it. You create your own reality. And so if the plot line of it has to be hard, if you don't want to relate to that plot line, if you don't want that to be the plot of your story, you don't have to attach to it. You don't have to associate with it. If you don't want to have a toxic relationship, mentally detach from it and just be like, I'm past that. I'm good. I've moved on, Don't gaslight yourself into avoiding healing from it and mourning a toxic relationship. But if you can get yourself to the place mentally of I'm past this. I know I'm better than this. I know I'm moving on. I know, I'm going to do better for myself. I'm not going to associate with this timeline anymore. I'm not going to associate with this version of myself. And you can kind of mentally clock that version of yourself and show up as that version of yourself. And then from that place, shift and change your present physical reality. That is some powerful shit, because you can see firsthand how detaching from the outcome and the experience gives you greater power and control to change your future and change your physical reality. I've been in so many scary, unsafe situations, but I didn't have my shit figured out. I wasn't at a point in my life where I was able to have my shit figured out enough to get out of that situation. And when you have the self-awareness enough to know why you're in a situation, why you're not experiencing the reality that you want to be experiencing, when you can understand why you're in a certain circumstance, then I think it's easier to detach from it, detach from associating yourself with that personality, with that personal reality, which then helps you move forward and create a new, better reality for yourself. Because if you can be honest enough with yourself to say hey, I'm here because it made sense. I'm here because this was the family I was born into. I'm here because yada, yada, yada. Cool, great, I understand that. I show myself compassion, but I also love and respect myself enough to know that I don't deserve to put up with this long term. So I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to get myself out of this situation. But if you allow yourself to attach to the situation, to attach to the fact of oh, but I love this person and we have this and this apartment and, this beautiful family and all these memories and, or this was the family I was born into. These are my people. These are my blood relatives. I can't leave my sister behind, yada, yada, yada. If you get into all these things where you're getting your emotions in the mix, you're getting wishy-washy on your goals and your values and your standards and boundaries and expectations out of this life, that's when things get messy and that's when things get hard, and that's when you really need to lock in on figuring out how the fuck to detach, how to compartmentalize and say, okay, yes, this thing is true. Sure, I love this person. Sure, there's these pros, but there's also all these cons that I can't ignore. There's all these things that are not making the pros worth it. You know what I mean? And this applies to not just friendships and relationships. It applies to literally every aspect of your life. And that's why I said at the beginning of this that once you clock this, once you figure out how to detach, you are going to be setting yourself up for success and really setting yourself apart from other people in this world, because I think the art of detachment is something that a lot of people still really struggle to master. And I feel like a big one too, a big thing in life that people will get attached to that is not healthy is food and sex and certain experiences, the hope or dream or idea that, you know, when you achieve a certain level in life, you get a certain status or title, you'll feel a certain way. Getting attached to your profession, your degree, your line of study, your expertise. Getting attached to having things at a certain time or things look or show up a certain way. Like when you don't know how to detach, it's so easy to let everything else in life just like run the show. Let your anxiety run rampant and freak the fuck out when you don't have control over a situation. But when do we ever have control over anything? We didn't choose to come into this world, and I have a strong feeling that everything that we experience and we go through, we don't have a whole lot of choosing when it comes to the big things. So like, just chill, relax, detach from the outcome, detach from the process, detach from the uncomfortability, the feeling that you need to know, the validation, the security. Like really, we're all just sacks of flesh, molecules of stardust, filled with souls, having a spiritual experience on this planet Earth. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. Let them stare, let them laugh, let them bully, let them joke, let them disrespect, let them get angry. It's not your concern. And if it is your concern because it's affecting your life in some great big way, detach from the negative pieces, focus on the positive, and mentally lock into the next highest version of yourself to call in the physical reality that matches that mental depiction of what it is, what that next highest version of yourself is. Because remember, when you detach, you call back in your power and your control over the situation by saying, this isn't something that I'm gonna let rule my universe. This isn't something that I'm gonna cry about, I'm gonna sweat about, I'm gonna lose sleep over. I can look at the situation head on and deal with it. Use it as a stepping stone to get me to something greater. Because truly everything in this life is just like a lesson. It's just an experience. You can't go wrong when all you're here to do is experience, and everything's an experience. The second that you start attaching labels of good, bad, positive, negative to certain experiences is also when you show your attachment to them. If you can detach from the need to categorize, the need to think in a binary, you open yourself up to the possibility of attaching to the only good thing, which is seeing that everything is good. No matter how stressful or uncertain or unplanned or unexpected it might seem, everything is good. And if you're going to be attached to anything, it should be that concept, which I think to get attached to, you have to detach from everything else, which is so hard because I feel like when you detach from everything, it's almost like you're disassociating, but at least that's maybe the way I think about it in theory. But then when I think about it in practice, it's not like that at all. It's kind of the opposite. It's almost like an oxymoron. I feel like when you detach from everything, you are so much more engaged into everything because you don't care about the outcome. You don't care about how you look. You don't care about how you're perceived. You don't care about how people are misunderstanding you, how people might not be liking you or might be making fun of you, or might not be respecting you. All of these really hurtful, uncomfortable thoughts and feelings you suddenly don't really care about. And suddenly they don't have any power over you because you're not attached to the experience and the people and all of that, like, physical human stuff in a way. I feel like when you detach, everything becomes so much more metaphysical because you're just there for the experience. You're just there for the feeling that it generates. You're there for the connection, the empowerment, the fun, the joy, all the uplifting, high vibrational feelings and emotions, which is so great and so powerful because, like, oh my God, I think this world would be such a better place if everyone could master this and just, like, not care so much about the little stuff. Like, I just think, people getting into car accidents. Normally, when people get into car accidents, like, one of the two people are getting out of the car being like, oh my God, what the hell? Like, screaming and road rage and all this stuff. But if everyone had mastered this art of detachment, nobody would be upset in that situation. You wouldn't care that your car's wrecked because you're not attached to it. You wouldn't care if, I don't know, your neck is maybe kinked because you're not attached to it. You wouldn't care about that stuff. You wouldn't care about worrying about demerit points on your license plate. You're not attached to it. You're not attached to that fear. You're not attached to the idea of, I don't know, not having a perfect license or driving record or having a perfectly clean, unscuffed, undamaged car. Like, when you're not attached to those things, you just don't care about that. And so nobody would be getting out of the car screaming at each other with a car accident if everyone knew how to detach from this stuff, Like, people would just be so much more, like, happy and go lucky and go with the flow and chill and caring more about the big stuff and less about the little stuff, which I feel like is more of what this world needs. So, yeah, I feel like in order to bring out more of that good stuff and less of the bad stuff, figuring out how to detach just in general in life is so critical, so important, and something that I wanted to share and something that I wanted to talk about, because I hope that it can help someone else, but I think it also helps me to kind of, like, get my bearings and compartmentalize and process, and it helps keep me accountable to implement these mindset shifts and these changes and perspectives into my own life, because I think they're really important and they're really helpful. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe for more if you like this, or follow if you're listening on Spotify. Yeah, and if you're looking for me on socials, it's Jenny's Journal on IG, TikTok. Jenny's OOTD Journal is my other handle. And yeah, thanks for listening and watching. Bye.